figured I'd come on live while I'm on the road trying to get home. And the only reason I'm on this road this late at night is because Ling Ling, some old sweet Asian lady who spoke no English whatsoever, decided to pop her ass in an Uber because her son ordered the ride and made me take her all the way to to freaking Virginia Beach. I'm so spent and tired from all the nonsense. I'm so ready to get in my bed. Y'all have no idea that drive. Oh my god! Like put it like this: from Richmond, it's like an hour and a half. It's not a bad drive, but with the weather being so crappy, it was raining hard earlier, and I was like, what the hell? Why does this dude keep braking? What the fuck? Anyway, he needs to get his dumb ass off the road. He gonna get hit. I don't know why he keep braking over here. But yeah, somebody put Ling Ling in my car again, no English, and decided to be funny and made me drive her all the way to Virginia Beach. I made $100 off that ride. Cashed out a little over $150 and I cut that shit right the fuck off. Cause I'm tired, and I only did 5 rides. That's not bad for 5 rides. Not bad at all. That last one threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting to go to Virginia Beach tonight. But yeah, I left around, I want to say a little after 6 o'clock. When I picked her up, it was almost 7 o'clock. And by the time I got here, it was damn near 9 o'clock. And now it's a little after 10:30. But praise God, I'm on my way home because I'm not picking up another person. Because Ling Ling, man, she was so dead wrong for that shit. Not only was the ride brutal coming out here through heavy ass rain, but she also had the nerve to bring her sushi with her and some stinky ass seafood. And I said, what the hell? Tell me why her son put like 4 big ass bags of seafood in the back of my trunk, and that shit was stinking too. I was like, ew, smells rancid. But yeah, I was a little floored. I was not expecting to do an hour and a half of a drive and then an hour and a half back home. I was not expecting this at all. Was not. But I said, you know what? Fuck it. I need the bread. I'm gonna take the money. I wasn't planning on doing this drive, but I said, you know what? The money is too good to pass over. It's early. By the time I make it back, it's gonna be a little after 11:30. I'll take the L. Even though I gotta get my ass up in the morning for work, and I don't feel like getting up either. Hello, welcome. But yeah, I'm tired, very very tired and spent. And if you're just tuning in, I just popped on this line to talk only because I'm on the road. And I'm doing my best to make sure I'm staying awake and I'm alert. I pulled over earlier to grab me some food from Chick-fil-A. I grabbed me like a little grilled chicken club sandwich and a little root beer shake or whatever. It was really good. I like that little frosted Dr. Pepper shake, whatever they had in there. It was really good. And a little bit of mac and cheese. Called it dinner. And then after I ate my little Chick-fil-A meal and stopped by Walmart and got me some water, because you know I got to stay hydrated. I got me a big old bottle of water with some electrolyte powder and shook it up and some green tea. I'm good to go. One thing about me, when it comes to like certain caffeine products and stuff, I look for stuff that's caffeine free. I used to drink a lot of coffee in the middle of the night, especially whenever I did Uber to keep myself awake. But what I realized is that with all that sugar and all that sodium, it's been spiking up my glucose and stuff so bad to the point where I am now borderline diabetic from like caffeine, energy drinks, coffees, lattes, Starbucks, whatever. You name it, the whole works. So I'm doing my best to wean myself away from the sugar. So what I do now, if I want something sweet, I get me a big old bottle of water, no matter what it is, what brand, from the gas station, the corner store, and then I get some powder and mix it. You know, like the little flavored electrolyte powders that you see in the corner stores and the gas stations. I get those for like $1. They'd be like 50 cents, and I shake it up in my water bottle and call it a day. And it got me some sweet juice that's healthier, way healthier. And I noticed that the more electrolytes you drink, the more alert you are. Just like, coffee gets you alert. And I noticed that coffee makes you crash. I don't know if y'all have the same issue, but with my ass, I can't do coffee like that at nighttime no more. Because one, I will be jumping all over the walls with energy, especially if there's espresso in it. And two, I want to go to sleep. So in order to have a peaceful night's sleep, instead of doing all that caffeine late at night, I just get either a green tea, um, or something natural like water, and I just mix like the powder in it to sweeten it up. But other than that, shit, I don't do all the sodas. I don't do all the juices and the sweet teas like I used to no more. I steer clear of that mess. Only time I'll get a soda is if maybe I'm at work and I'm away from home. But when I'm at home, I don't be drinking soda. I don't even buy soda. To be honest, I just buy a whole pack of water and a whole pack of Crystal Light packets. And I mix a Crystal Light packet in my water and sweeten it up because I'm trying, like I said, to steer clear of the sugars and the caffeines. I want to make sure I got a good balance between the sugar, the sodium, and all that good stuff. But yeah, sister's trying to watch the health. Okay, I'm trying to watch the health. But yeah, it's the coffee is not good, especially at nighttime. It's not good for you like that. Like you cannot continue to drink caffeine 24/7. You will crash out. Like it's very valid. I've actually crashed out a couple of times when I had so much caffeine. One time I'll never forget. I think I had like not Red Bull, but like Bang energy drinks back to back. I'm talking. I was slamming like two of them jokers back to back, and I would just be going off the walls for like maybe 3 or 4 hours doing Uber and Lyft and stuff in the middle of the night. And then out of nowhere, when my energy high got low and that caffeine weaned off of me, I crashed immediately. And I got so drained and so exhausted, I had no energy. And that stuff is like an addictive drug. That stuff is no good for you. And once I realized, ooh, that stuff has a lot of sodium and caffeine in them. I'm gonna stop drinking that mess. That shit ain't good for you. But yeah, I try my best to read the labels and follow, you know, guidelines of being, a little bit more healthier, making more healthier options per se, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm trying to steer clear of the sugar and the sodium for sure. Now I know I did bad with Chick-fil-A tonight, but I was hungry and I didn't give a damn. And two, I'm on the road. I mean, what else I'm gonna eat? By the time I got home, only thing I got in that damn thing is some bread, peanut butter, jelly, and some grits and some cereal. And I don't want none of this shit. I wanted some real food. But yeah, yeah, I'm spent. I'm very spent. And I'm surprised I'm still awake, only because I've been up all day practically since 7 o'clock this morning, and that's only because I had, had to go to work or whatever. I just hope that next month when they start tearing up our our department area where I'm at in my office, when they start the renovation bullshit, I hope to God I can telework. I'm crossing my fingers for telework because I do not want to be up in there when they tearing up that whole building. Right now, they just started renovating the back offices of our building, so they slapping paint on the walls. They doing all kinds of mess. They ripped up the carpet. They're doing a whole revamp of the whole entire building. Well, not the whole building, but like just our area of the building. But yeah, it's like half of the office is like carpet, half of the office is not carpet. There's wet paint everywhere. I even got paint on my outfit earlier. I was so mad. I said, "Damn, I got paint on my elbows." They need to put some signs up telling people there's wet paint everywhere. But I was easily able to wipe it off. I had some wipes and wiped it off earlier. But yeah, they got a lot going on in the building right now with all this renovation crap. That's the only thing I don't like. But other than that, I mean, it's been a okay day, since I've been back at work or whatever. I love that 4 day weekend. One thing about the military folks, ooh, and the government folks, when the sailors and the soldiers or whatever are off, man, it's a good feeling when civilians get to have that time off. I love that shit. It feels like deja vu all over again. When the sailors are off and we're technically, quote unquote, supposed to be working, we telework. We don't be in that damn building. But I just like the flexibility and the freedom to do as I please, and just the fact that I only report to one person in that whole building, and that's the commando himself. I love it. I just love the fact that don't nobody bother my black ass with shit. And sorry, I was taking a drink of my water. I felt thirsty for some reason just now. I don't know why I'm so thirsty. But yeah, I like the environment. I just wish there was more pay. Other than that, I mean, I have no real complaints. I'll be honest. The work is easy. The people are chill. I mean, when you're in those types of spaces, nobody messes with your ass. I'm gonna tell you the spaces that are the most stressful working areas. I don't care. Nobody says corporate America. If you're working in corporate America right now, I'm so serious, and you're working somewhere like in a bank, or you're working somewhere like in a engineering firm, or a tax accounting firm, you're gonna have a hellhole. And I'm gonna tell you why. I've been in corporate America for a very long time. I've been in higher positions than what I've been in. I've made way more money than what I made now. And one thing I will say is that the more money you make, the more problems you get, the more authority you have, and the less fun it gets. And I'm gonna tell you, when you have less authority and you're a peon on the bottom of the totem pole, it is the absolute best feeling. Because you know why? You're not responsible for shit. Nobody looks to you for shit. And then on top of that, you just do your job and go the fuck home. What more do you want from that? Unless you just want to be that jerk off that just literally wants authority and wants to be in charge and ruin people's lives. Go ahead. But you're gonna be so stressed out to the point where you're gonna hate your job, you're gonna hate the people around you, then you don't want to work no more. And that's pretty much what happened with a lot of the jobs I've had in the past. I've worked for the state, I've worked for the city, I've even worked up for the feds, the federal. Hell, I'm still working for the feds, but I'm a contractor now. But the biggest difference, I'm gonna tell you right now, between all three of them, city is chill depending on where you are, but those type of spaces when there's like multiple offices in like one building and it's a shit ton of people in that same building in that same department, you're gonna have a whole lot of issues. I've noticed that the bigger the office space, the more drama you have. The smaller the office space, the less drama you have, depending on the person you're working with. And I learned that the hard way. No matter how much money in the world you make, can't nothing buy you happiness if you're just miserable 24/7. And once I learned that, I said, okay, I think I know what I'm looking for. This may not be my dream job or my dream career, whatever you want to call it, but it pays the bills. It gets me by to where I need to get to, and I have a roof over my head. I think I'm content with that. Am I satisfied? Not really, but I make it do what it do. And I'm like this. I feel like as long as nobody can steal your happiness, nobody can steal your joy, and you do a good job, and you get your little promotion, you get your little pay raise or whatever, you get your little plaque, your little recognition, your little awards and stuff. I think you're doing just fine. And I think as long as you have a roof over your head, you have somewhere, to go 24/7, and you not, being a bum nowhere, you know what I mean, or in the street, I think you're fine. You ain't gotta have the biggest house on the block. You ain't gotta have the fanciest car in the yard. All I'm saying is live within your means and you'll be fine. I live way within my means, but the problem with me right now is I got creditors up my ass literally attacking me every 5 seconds with new bills for no reason at all. And as soon as I pay off that lovely debt, then I'll be back in square one. I'll be okay. But other than that, like I said, I have no real complaints. I love where I work. I enjoy the people that I work with. Majority of the people I work with are like 99.9% men and like maybe 2% women in that building. That's why. Another thing I've noticed, when you work with a whole bunch of women, a whole bunch of females in one spot, especially if you're a woman, yeah, you're going to have hell to pay. Everyone's competing with each other. You know what I mean? They talking shit. They gossiping and stuff. You know what I mean? Spread rumors. I've been through all types of environments. Trust me, I know. And out of all the environments I've worked in, I would probably say the two worst ones of all that I've worked in, hospitals. Those are one of them is horrible, and the other one I would say is probably warehouse. I don't think anybody would find the warehouse jobs fun. One, you're hella underpaid. Two, you're hella overworked. And three, uh, you're literally a slave to the system. It's like Jim Crow. You're like you're back on the plantation working in the warehouses. I hate to say it. I feel like those type of jobs, those like hard labor jobs, those should be designed for like the younger folks that are like fresh out of high school. I feel like if you are beyond high school age, like mid 30s, early 40s, hell, even in your 50s, you can work in a warehouse, but I wouldn't dare be doing no heavy lifting. I would be sitting my ass on behind a desk, if anything. If I'm not some sort of team lead, whatever the hell you call it, or a pallet jack person, messing with the pallet jack and, getting the stuff off the trucks with that, and I'm not doing anything to lift a finger, nah, I don't want that job. But the minute you tell me, all right, get over there and crack the whip and go lift a 70-pound box, and you can't get off until 12 hours later with one break, I don't think so. That was majority of my life, to be honest. Majority of my life was pure warehouse slavery. I'm so serious. That's why I laugh at people when they be like, "Oh, you got it made. You don't know what hard work is." I'm like, "Shit. You want to trade places with me in an earlier life that I had before I got to this position?" I said, "I will tell you right now, just like I tell everybody else. When you start somewhere and you get somewhere and you make your way up, you move your way around, and you get some connections here and there, you better get some business cards or something because if you don't figure it out, sooner or later in life you're gonna be stuck being a slave. I'm so serious. Like that manual labor is not for the weak. Unless you're a naturally strong person or you're athletically fit, I feel like those jobs should not be for like the older and the elders. And I'm not saying there's nothing, nothing against the elders working or the elderly, working in those type of environments, but like it's so damn dangerous and it's such a liability. I feel like the elders that do work in warehouse work, they should at least give them a seat at the table. Like make them, do janitorial crap. If it's not janitorial, at least have them do some type of lightweight activity. Because one thing I will say about the post office and places like Amazon, they don't care how old you are. Excuse me. They don't care how strong you are or how weak you are. If you are an able-bodied person and you could walk and you could talk and you could bend over and pick up things, they're going to make you do everything in that warehouse. They don't care how big or large that box is. I'm so serious. Like, Even though they have these little bullshit training classes and they tell you how to properly lift the box and how to bend your knees to help prevent, injuries, people get hurt all the time. And the sad part is about those type of jobs, they will be the first ones to fire your ass the minute you get hurt. If you're not protected by a union, and even if you are protected by a union, you can still get fired. They don't give a damn about that shit. That's a joke. All the union stewards are a joke. That's why I said I would never go back to that type of environment. Hell no. I don't care how bad I'm doing. I would rather be in the comfort of my own home, either teleworking, like what I'm doing now, office work, or call center. I will happily go back to a call center if I need to, but I don't have to. I just, prefer to do face to face interaction and sometimes telework in the office space. But outside of that, I would definitely say, yeah, manual labor is not for the weak. I don't recommend it to nobody, no matter what age you are, no matter how long you've been doing it, it will break you down. Seriously. It will break you down mentally and it'll break you down physically. Now, even doing Uber and Lyft sometimes, even though it's my side hustle, and sometimes I do it throughout the week, to maintain, funding until check day comes, that's a stress alone. I'm not going to lie. Even though my foot is messed up, as y'all can tell from the last videos I posted, I have an Achilles tendonitis issue. I am walking around on a boot, and I'm still busting my ass. I could have easily took disability from my job and said, hey, I need to take some time off. I need to take short-term disability. They would have paid me 60% of my salary, and I would have been sitting at home on my ass collecting the check. But instead of doing that, I'd rather work and just thug it out with my boot on my foot and call it a day. Why? Because even though you have that option to take long-term disability or short-term disability, God forbid, you get injured on the job or you have some type of procedure done, it's not a guarantee that your job is secure either. And that's another issue, what people don't talk about. Yes, you have benefits. Yeah, they're designed to protect you, but that's not always the case. Because if you're like a contractor, like me, for example, and you don't have like a guaranteed contract or your contract has not been renewed, then you are probably in danger of losing your job. And that's why I tell people to look at the fine print before they do anything like that, because one day you might have a job, the next day you may not. And that's the sad reality of, that type of work when you're doing like government contracting and stuff. However, the beautiful side of it is that there's always going to be a job somewhere. It may not be directly in your city, but if you do your research and you go to, the website, look at job openings, you'll see them all over the place. So it's not like, oh, I have to stay in Richmond and forever and be stuck here. Like, no, if I want to, I can go to DC on a whole other contract. I can go to Arlington. I could go to Alexandria. It don't matter where in the world. If I really wanted to, I could go to Dubai. Like literally the next week. And it's like, oh, I saw a contract open up at the Dubai airport. Can I go get on it? Sure. And hop my ass at the Dubai airport and be working out of the airport. It's too easy for me to find something. It's not hard. But I highly recommend people, if you get into this type of work, stick to the same job that you were in as long as possible, make connections, and then make your way around whenever you get tired of it. Don't ever quit. Because one thing I will say, what I learned about quitting stuff before you find another job, it is so hard out here. I'm not joking. Even before I relocated here last year from Texas, it took me months. I'm not joking. I'm talking like damn near 3 to 6 months before I found anything. And it was pitiful. And my saving grace, literally, was here, Virginia. You want to know why? Because everywhere that I applied to in Texas before I moved, they were playing games. There's a whole bunch of fake ass jobs. That's why I hate Indeed and websites like, Career Builder and Monster.com. Those are such trash ass websites. Even LinkedIn. There's a whole bunch of scams on LinkedIn. You gotta be careful. But all the government jobs and all of like the state and local jobs that I applied to, they're all jokes. Nobody would like bother to give me the time of day down there. They were either on a hiring freeze. That was one issue I was dealing with before I moved here last year. Or it was the fact that the position has been filled, blah, 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 blah. They just lie and they find somebody else, find their buddy or their college buddies, and they put them in those positions and they fill the position and then they cancel out that opening. That's pretty much what's been happening. And once I caught on to that trend, I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to have to leave Texas. I got no choice. Because, one, I was already miserable. I had just suffered another layoff, by the way. And when I got laid off from that hospital job before I moved out here, when I say I looked everywhere, I'm not joking, y'all. I swallowed my pride and I started applying to places like hotels, bars, restaurants. I didn't care what it was. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, would give me the time of day down there. I said, I gotta get out of here. I'm not staying here. I'm not gonna be stuck here and be a slave to the system because nobody wants to give me a decent job out here. So I did what my homeboy told me to do. Shout out to Smitty. Smitty is the man. If it wasn't for Smitty, I wouldn't have came to Virginia. And Smitty was the one who encouraged me to look in the DMV, which stands for DC, Maryland, Virginia. So I said, okay. So I started doing some research, put in my resume, put in my little cover letter, start putting myself out there, and then boom, within like a few weeks, this is how quick Virginia hires. I already had 3 or 4 interviews. I wasn't even over here yet. That fast. Like they do not mess around when it comes to hiring. And then as soon as New Year's Eve hit, before I even, you know, started packing all my stuff up to leave Texas, that's when I got the magic call from the post office to say, congratulations, you've been selected, blah, 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 blah. And I had that little seasonal gig when I got here. That was my saving grace. That was my ticket and my sign from above to move. Because it was the only one calling my phone. I said, as much as I don't want to go back to warehouse work, I ain't got no choice. I said, it's a stepping stone. It's something to get by until I find something else. So I said, I'm not going to be here forever. That's a damn show. So then I took that job, moved all my stuff, and then as soon as I finished my little bullshit training, I started working, in the warehouse as a little window clerk. Wasn't even on the window, just slinging boxes like a slave, working on the railroad. And then after that, for a couple of weeks, I said, all right, I'm done. I got my little check. I'm out of here. The part-time hours was not cutting it. It was like $600 a check. It was real shitty. I'm not going to lie. It was terrible. And the work was beyond horrible. I think that's why my back and my knees are messed up now, to be honest. But, yeah, I had to get the hell up out of there. I was just like, nope, this is not it. I was in too much pain. I couldn't take it anymore. And then I sat at home and I said, I'm going to start doing DoorDash. I'm going to start learning the neighborhoods. I started DoorDashing a little bit, did a little bit of Uber, did a little bit of Lyft. And then finally, by the grace of God, about a month and a half later, I landed this contract gig. It took a while. It took a minute. And it was not easy. Oh, no. Like, when I tell people this is not for the weak, when it comes to job searching, it's not for the weak. But I learned that geographically, depending on where you are in the world, will determine your fate. I'm so serious. Had I stayed in Texas, God forbid, especially the Dallas area where I was living at, I probably would have never seen myself in a better position. I probably would have been still doing Chitlin Circuit bullshit. I'm so serious, like literally dumb shit. Ooh, shit. Why are we all stopped here? Oh, this is like construction. Yeah, it's construction. Everybody just came to a halt. It scared me. But yeah, if I was still stuck over in Dallas, I probably would have been either doing Amazon, something silly like security, and I was not going to do that either. Because this is how I knew it was time to leave Texas. One, it was the environment, the people, especially over by Dallas area. A lot of the black community, quote unquote, the culture, whatever you want to call it wasn't what I expected. A lot of people are very snooty in most areas, very stuck up. I only made like 2.5 friends out that motherfucker. And then on top of that, the only two people I still talk to this day, thank God, I've actually found some genuine people in my life. A lot of the people are too busy either competing against you or they're just jealous. And I found that very strange because I said, is it just me or is it just this whole fucking state? Like, motherfuckers gave me weird vibes down there. People are starting acting real crazy, real weird. A lot of people are just high. They're bums. They don't have jobs. You know what I mean? They're doing bad, sleeping on somebody's couch or, over at Pookie and Ray Ray's getting drunk 24/7. And it didn't feel like there was no life over there. I mean, even when I lived in other cities across Texas, it felt like the same bullshit. I'm serious. Like, it's changed so bad to the point where it turned me all the way off, even from going back home. Because home is not home anymore, I'll be honest. Like, if I were to say, like, go to my little hometown, God forbid, little old LG, triple LG LaGrange, which I would never do, there's no, and I mean no room for growth at all in that town. Like, till this day in 2026, they have the same shit down there, and nothing has progressed over a span of 40, 50 years. Nothing. The only thing that's changed over there in that little town is more fast food spots by the Walmart and no jobs. Literally, like everyone that I can think of that's still in my hometown that actually stays down there, they're either working at the local grocery stores or they're doing hair out the house or they're doing nails or they're doing home health. Home health is a really big thing in small towns. I don't know if y'all are aware, but most small towns where I come from, there's not a lot of good opportunities. Like you have to go to the city, literally, to make ends meet, or else you're just gonna suffer and do bullshit like home health, you know. But even when I lived in Austin, God, that was miserable as fuck too. People over there were just, man, they were out of it. Those people are weird. And then like on top of that, the jobs were so damn racist. Oh my God. One thing I will say, what I don't understand about the people, the locals here in Virginia, when they compare Texas to Virginia, I get a lot of people in my car sometimes on Uber that say, "Ew, what brought you to Virginia? Why you moved here? I don't understand why you moved to Richmond." And I said, "Well, I wanted something different, and I got tired of the weird shit. I got tired of the BS jobs. I was miserable. I wasn't happy, and I was ready to leave. I just wanted something completely different from what I grew up under. I didn't want to stay here forever, and I knew that Texas was not going to be home." But they would be like, it's so crazy how the locals here think that Texas is better than Virginia. And I took one look at some of them people that I talked to, and I'm like, why do you think, or why in the world would you ever believe that Texas is better than Virginia? I said, first of all, do you know where Texas is at? I said, it is the South, the deep South at that. Technically Midwest, but deep South. Second, it's very fucking racist in most areas, and a lot of it I'm not proud of. I'm really not. There's not one thing I can say about Texas that I would recommend to anybody down there. One, the politics, trash. Two, no women's rights. Three, no casinos. Four, no tweed, no dispensaries, nothing. Like there's no freedom. And that's what I try to explain to some of the locals here, because every time they keep comparing different states in the South compared to Virginia, I'm like, well, you have to get out of your environment. I see why you don't like it here. One, you're in the projects. Two, if that's all you know is the project, of course you're gonna hate it here because that you've never left the hood. But if you left the hood, if you got out of your own environment and you've been to like other places outside of the world, then yes, you would be more open minded. But a lot of these people I've come across here are very closed minded. They've never traveled places, and I get it. Not everybody has the means to travel, see the world or whatever, do vacations. I get that. But if you stay here so long to the point where you've never flew on a plane, you've never got on a Greyhound, you'd be surprised how many people I've talked to out here that told me they've never rode a plane, they've never rode the Greyhound, they've never left Virginia, period, and all they know is Richmond. It's shocking. And I'd be like, why? It makes no sense because I'm just like, the only reason why my black ass is well traveled is because I used to be in the military. That's different. That's what got me out of my space. Had I not signed up, had I not joined, oh God, I can't imagine what I would be doing back home. I cannot imagine. Like, had it not been for the spaces I've been around, the people that I've crossed paths with and met and made like lifelong friends, like till this day, I'm talking people I've known 20 plus years that I've served with. I don't know what other better position I would be in, honestly. Even though it was a crappy experience and I did not like it, nor care for the military or the army or whatever, it has its perks. I will say that I'm very grateful to know that I have medical uh, benefits for life at the VA, thanks to the VA. The VA is probably the number one source to go to out of all the places. I don't care what nobody says. And even if you don't want to go to the VA, they have what's called community care. You can get outsourced outside the VA. You can go to any hospital. You can go to any urgent care as long as it's covered under the umbrella of the VA. They'll pay for it. You just have to let them know you want community care. It's too easy. And then on top of that, knowing that I don't have to pay a dime for none of my prescriptions, none of my medical procedures, nothing, not a damn dime, it makes me feel good. It really does. And I feel very grateful for that. And then on top of the medical and the education benefits, which I've already used already, got 2 degrees from the government for free, another freebie. I mean, like I said, I cannot complain. One thing I will say is that I wish that I was in a better position financially, yes. But mentally, I'm in a good space. And I feel that I may have not accomplished everything that I wanted, like as far as my goals in life, but I'm satisfied, yes. I'm glad that I left that hellhole of Dallas, and I feel like I'm in a way better off position being over here. Because had I not left, I probably would be doing the same shit. Seriously, either security, Amazon, or Uber or Lyft, one of the three. Because that's all the jobs I did out there, y'all. I'm not joking. Like, all the jobs I literally had in Texas was either security, Amazon, post office, Uber, or Lyft, or some type of gut wrenching, soul sucking city job that I hated. And I'm talking like jobs that work for like the police, which I'll never go back to. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking of working for the Popos. I've even worked for when I worked at the state. I was at the VA for a little bit, but under the state, that job wasn't too terrible. But the thing I didn't like about the Texas Veterans Commission, that was the agency that I was under at the time. They travel too much for training. Their travel is crazy. Like I remember when I first started that job. This was way back when. I'm talking like 2016, and they basically had me go from, let's see, when I was in Austin, I had to go to training in San Antonio for a conference for a whole week. They put you in a hotel. You ain't got to pay a dime for it, which is nice. And then that first week of training, after I went to San Antonio in a ghost motel or whatever the hell it was called, I went straight over to Houston for training. Same thing. Went to Waco for training. Like, it was too much. And I was like, man, I can't imagine if I had a family, if I had children. I wouldn't even know how to balance that mess. It would drive me nuts. Knowing I gotta find a babysitter and shit, and I gotta do all this extra silly shit for training. Like, it's stupid. This was way back before Zoom and all the other technical stuff came into play for like training and stuff. Because I don't think they had Zoom back in 2016, and if they did, I don't remember. But yeah, I remember taking a lot of different training sessions at different VA facilities, and I did a lot of travel. That's what turned me off from that job. And I did it for at least almost 3 years. I was in a job. But yeah, it was hella overworked, hella underpaid. People were very snobby, hella racist as shit. The majority of them was racist, undercover. And yeah, like nothing could keep me at that job. Seriously, like even if I stayed at that job to this day, I probably would have never like retired from that job. To be honest, now I think about it, it was just horrible. And then after that job, I went over to the the health office. That was a shit show too. I fucking hated that health office I worked at. It was horrible. There was a whole bunch of old biddies, a whole bunch of women in one spot. Majority of them was black and Hispanic, hateful ass old bitter women that had no man, nothing. And they would pick on the younger women and make them do all the extra work, half-ass train them. That's one thing I don't like about state jobs. One thing I will say is I will never, and I mean never, go back to a state job. I might go back to a city job if needed. The city jobs pay way better and they're way less as far as with the work. But state jobs, hell no. You can't tell me to go back to a state job. Even when I worked with the workforce center down there when I was in Austin, it was a hellhole. Like, it didn't matter where I was. And another thing that pissed me off about Texas, I don't know if other states do the same thing, but y'all know how they have those temp agencies and stuff. Texas has a lot of temp agency work, and that's another thing that pissed me off down there. All I had was a whole bunch of temp gigs back to back, and it turned me completely off. Like whenever I had a periodic break in between work and I was looking for something after like a layoff or something, I would literally be on a temp gig, like clockwork. I was grateful for it, but I was pissed off at the same time because they can just get rid of you for any little thing on a temp gig. And then sometimes those temp jobs are only temporary for like maybe as little as 30 days to 90 days when somebody's on maternity leave. That's what happened to me most of the time when I lived in Austin. Or they would be as good as 6 months to maybe a year, depending on performance and stuff, or whatever the hell you call it, or however they evaluate your work. That's pretty much how they evaluate it, how long they're going to keep the temps or make them permanent. And I'm gonna tell you, the very last temp gig I did was Dallas, and I will never, and I may never do it again. This lady, who has to be a Mexican woman, that was in charge, she was sweet, but she was also an asshole behind closed doors. I eventually found out later. She tried to have me train a whole white lady that was coming in for my job or something. I think she was coming in for a supervisory position, and she wanted me to train her on the stuff that I was doing in HR. I said, wait a minute, hold on. How you gonna ask me to train a whole different person that's coming in for a supervisory position, a permanent position? But I'm the temp. I said, isn't that your job to train her? You are the controller. The last time I checked, the controller, aka the moneymaker of HR that actually does the monies, accounting and whatever, they're the motherfuckers that's supposed to be training, not me. And she was so lazy. She tried to have me do that training. I said, I'm not doing that. I said, I will happily go elsewhere and take my business elsewhere before I train a whole nother bitch for my job or somebody else's job in that raggedy ass construction firm that I was working at the time. I said, you got me all the way messed up. You think for 1 second I'm going to train somebody that's going for a higher position than me, and I'm the temp? I said, no, bitch, I'm the help, and you're not going to get my hard-earned brain cells for some pea-brain bitch that don't know her job from Adam, who had a master's degree on top of that. If you have a master's degree or a PhD, you do not need a temp to train your ass. You don't. That's just pure laziness at that point. That just told me everything I needed to know. And that's why I left. And that's when I told myself, no more temping. I said, I don't care how bad it gets, I'm not going back to temp work. I refuse. So my thing is now, since I'm getting a little bit older and I'm getting closer to, 40 or whatever, I either find seasonal work if it's really, really bad, but it's not bad right now, or contracting. That's the way to go. And I'm going to tell you, the best seasonal work, in my opinion, if you don't want like backbreaking work in the warehouse, like post office or like Amazon, like laborer bullshit, I would highly recommend looking for seasonal work in oddball jobs that nobody wants to do. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about like summer jobs, seasonal work, like lifeguard jobs, or stuff like cooking jobs, or nursing home jobs, stuff like that. The easy work that nobody wants to do, that people barely get paid on. It may not be much, but it's decent. Now out here, I don't know all the seasonal jobs that they have. I'm only aware of a whole bunch of warehouses from what I've seen on Uber, but I've noticed a trend here in Virginia specifically. I don't know if other states have the same trend, but a lot of the younger folks out here, especially college kids and stuff like that, they will go find themselves a seasonal ass job doing the bare minimum. I'm talking like cashier, store clerk, like grocery jobs. And I'm not talking about like bagging groceries or getting shopping carts. I'm talking like the bare minimum. Like there are people out here, y'all, that are working for like Amazon grocery stores. Yes, if you didn't know, now you know. Amazon has grocery stores now. I did not know this. When you go inside the Amazon grocery store, it's literally like a corner store with nobody in it, and you just scan your items and go. There's cameras all over the place, kind of like the airport where you scan your items and go. But that's the Amazon grocery store. They will find those type of seasonal jobs and go work part time for them and do flex hours, do whatever schedule they want to do, and get their little money. And if they're not working for Amazon grocery stores, not the warehouse, it's the store. It's two different places, not the same thing. They will take themselves and go do outside seasonal work, like camping jobs. They'll do like, how they have like those Airbnb cabins and stuff. They have seasonal work for that too. There are people who literally house sit out here for rich people. That's seasonal as hell too. You'd be surprised. That's why I be telling people you gotta do your research because there's plenty, and I mean plenty, of oddball jobs that pay some decent money out here. Now, would I ever house sit for somebody? Hell no. I don't trust that shit for nothing. One, I don't want nobody accusing my black ass of stealing shit, and two, I'm not too keen on house sitting for strangers I barely know. I'm not doing that because there's too much happening in the world. People are crazy. But you'd be surprised, like all the different types of gigs they have out here, especially up north. Man, there's so much stuff out here, y'all. Like, if you wanted to, you could be like a seasonal park ranger, like Smokey the Bear, or you could be like a forest fire person that makes sure that there's no fires. You could do like a fire watch job and probably make like $20 an hour just doing that shit in the forest. Like stuff like that, easy work, easy money. I wouldn't mind doing stuff like that, but that's more summertime. But because We're still technically in winter slash spring. Um, there's not much as far as like those type of jobs that pop up. Majority of the jobs during this type of weather, I will tell you the most I've seen, to be honest, that are probably like bullshit jobs are road work. Which, oh shit, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. I went off the wrong exit. Damn it. That's what I get for not paying attention. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I done missed my damn exit up there. I gotta get back on. I'm halfway through. Halfway through. That damn construction is so confusing. They need some more signs. I almost damn near sideswiped that thing. Luckily, I seen that sign. I said, ooh. That's why I hurried up and hopped off the exit. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, wintertime jobs. So up here during this type of season, when it's like snowing and there's like crazy weather here, I see a lot of snow plows, and I'm talking like homemade snow plow jobs. Like I've seen people with like their F-150s and like the little snow plow thing on the end, like all types of stuff. And I think it's kind of quite fascinating because it's like you can never go wrong with whatever type of job you're looking for. There's always something here. But when you're down south where it doesn't snow and you don't have much going on and there's not much opportunity, it kind of sucks. That's one thing I will say that's a big disadvantage between the north and the south. The north always has some type of oddball job for everybody, no matter what season. The south doesn't. You either get something in the summer or you find something in the warehouse, literally the south. Because those jobs are never going away, sadly. They're not gonna, get robots and take over warehouses. Like they're not gonna do that. The humans are the robots. The humans are always gonna be the machines, unfortunately. Now I've heard that Amazon does have robots. I have not physically seen them, but I've heard in some areas they do have them. But majority of the deliveries now, like whenever you order stuff online, they do have drone delivery, which I think is so weird. Um, and if it's not drone delivery, it's just the people and the big Amazon trucks, delivering your stuff. But yeah, even Walmart recently launched drone delivery, and it's funny because even DoorDash has it. Depending on what retailer or what store you order from, you can actually get your stuff delivered by drone. It's kind of scary, in my opinion, having a robot deliver your stuff instead of a human. But anyway, there's always something for everybody. I feel like here up north it's more diverse to the point where there's something for everybody. No matter what color you are, no matter what culture you are, there's something for everyone literally here. And the reason why I say that is because Virginia is a sweet spot. If you think about it, you got a huge population of the Jewish community, you got the Mennonites, you got the Amish community next door in Northern Virginia and places like Pennsylvania. There's a huge Amish community over there. I actually saw a Mennonite the other day when I was at work last week. I had my homeboy Travis. I said, Travis, what is she wearing? What is she? I said, is she Amish? He was like, oh no, that's a Mennonite. I said, how can you tell the difference? He was like, Mennonites wear long skirts for the women. Amish women don't do that. I said, oh. And she had like the hair bonnet on, not the ghetto Keisha bonnet, but like the actual Oregon Trail bonnet, the one where you tie the drawstring on your chin. Yeah, I seen that lady walking around downtown Richmond like it wasn't nothing. A long skirt with glasses and a hair bonnet. I was like, whoa, it's different. I said, I don't never see this shit back home. And another thing is a huge Mormon community here. I've noticed that too. Because right next door in Lynchburg, country ass Lynchburg, they have a huge Mormon population over there. I didn't know that. Um, and then they also have a huge African community, believe it or not. But the majority of the Africans here are next door in D.C. There's a huge Ethiopian community here, a big Arabic community here. That's another thing that threw me off here too. It's like a melting pot, literally, of different areas of cultures that I've never seen compared to the South. Because I'm gonna be honest, the South. When I hear the South, I think of black, white, Mexican, a little bit of Asian, a little bit of Indian. That's Texas. That's all you're gonna see down there. But you come up here, everyone's here. It's like New York. You got the Jews, you got the Akis, you got the Arabs, you got everybody. The Africans, everyone's here, literally, the whole world. But yeah, I like the diversity. I like the fact that on the Muslim community, huge Muslim community here too. I've noticed that too. And the Muslim community is so weird because like for the first time, I know this is gonna sound funny to y'all, but you know my country has ain't never really seen nothing like this. But for the first time in my life, until I came to Virginia, I saw white Muslim women for the first time. I've never seen that before. Even when I was in Texas, I've seen a lot of like black Muslim women, like Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz. That's normal, or like Arabic women. But I've never seen a white Muslim woman. It was shocking. I was like, wait, what? You're white? I was like, holy shit. I said, where are you from? What planet did you come from? It was so funny. She was like, oh, I'm originally from like California, but I migrated down here like a few years ago with my boyfriend, and he converted me, and I just said it only makes perfect sense, and we both, ended up being Muslim. I was like, wow. But yeah, white Muslims. That was a culture shock for me. I've never seen that in my life until I came to Virginia. That was different. I think it's pretty cool though. Um, Another thing that shocked me was the food. The food here, oh my God, it's so good. The seafood, the soul food not as much. Seafood, yes. Um, Different cultures. They got Dominican, Peruvian, shawarma. I don't know what shawarma is, but I think it's similar to like Indian cuisine. But the people that make the shawarma, they're from like places like Kuwait, Afghanistan, like places on that side of the earth. And then like they have a whole bunch of Korean barbecue spots. Um, Believe it or not, what threw me off the most about Virginia, what I did not expect, was the Caribbean stuff. There's a lot of Caribbean cuisine here, Jamaican food spots, Brazilian spots. Believe it or not, they're here. I've never seen a Brazilian restaurant until I came here. Besides Fogo de Chao, if you want to count Fogo de Chao, which is a Brazilian steakhouse, it's not the same thing. Like, like actual authentic Brazilian cuisine is completely different from Fogo de Chao. Fogo de Chao is just a chain restaurant that serves you sliced up fancy pieces of steak and chicken and pork and lamb. That's it. There's nothing fancy else about it. That's all it is. Just think of it as a Golden Corral, but a fancier version of Golden Corral. That's Fogo de Chao. But I will admit, though, they do have a variety of, things on a salad bar and stuff like that, or whatever you're looking for. But other than that, I mean, there's nothing really to brag about. I'll be honest. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like whatever floats your boat, whatever you're looking for, you can find it here. The shops. That's another thing that threw me off. There are a lot of authentic um, farmers market shops. Surprisingly, here, I've seen a Jewish farmers market. I've seen a German farmers market. I've seen an Arabic farmers market. Like anything that you're literally looking for, it's here. Seriously, like even in DC, when I went to DC a couple of weeks ago, when I took the Amtrak adventure that turned into a nightmare because of the snowstorm, one thing that stood out to me the most were the coffee shops. I'm gonna tell you why. Now, y'all know they have like different coffee shops or like different espressos, like Brazil and like all types of different cultures from different countries, like Turkish coffee shops and stuff like that. We don't have those in Texas. When I see the coffee shops in Texas, the first thing that comes to my mind is Starbucks. If it's not Starbucks, it's some type of other bullshit chain restaurant that I don't care for, like Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's or something like I don't know, something with matcha in it that's like super trendy and like hippie and white. That's Texas. There's like no diversity among the coffee shops down there. Seriously, the coffee shops here, hella diverse, and it'll blow your mind. The very first time ever, I saw Armenian coffee shop. I saw a Turkish coffee shop in DC. I've seen, believe it or not, an Ethiopian coffee shop. I was shocked. I was like, damn, they got all the coffee shops here for real. Like, you don't even need to go to Starbucks at that point. You could just go chill with the locals and, explore their stuff. But yeah, I like the fact that when you go places like DC and even Baltimore, surprisingly, is a good mix of culture too. You can find just about anything down there that you can find in other countries here. But yeah, it's a hit or miss. I like the fact that I feel like some of the city makes me feel like I'm in Egypt because of the Moroccan culture and because of like the Middle Eastern cultures that they have down there. And then some of the city makes me feel like I'm in Europe, depending on where I'm at. There's a lot of British stuff around, a lot of stuff that reminds me of like the UK that's out here, surprisingly. But yeah, like anything literally that's worldwide that you're looking for, it's here. Trust me, you can find it here. Richmond not as much. Richmond is more like mom and pop level type of stuff and like chains, but there's decent spots around here. I mean, like they have like hidden gems, whatever you call them, and speakeasies or whatever, like hidden bars and stuff behind like different buildings. But it's not the same as like places like Baltimore and DC. Like the first time I went to Baltimore, it blew my mind. It was nothing that I imagined. Like when I thought about it, the first thing I thought about was The Wire. Y'all remember that show called The Wire? That's the first thing I thought about. I thought about The Wire, and I said, "Man, this is not as bad as I thought it was." Now, depending on what side of town you on, will determine what you're gonna deal with. If you're gonna see some YN activity, or if you're gonna see like some common folks that's not gonna disturb you. That also plays into it too. See, I only stay in a tourist district every time I go down there. I never go to the neighborhood for a good reason. One, I'm not trying to get robbed, knocked in the head, and I'm not trying to get my car took. And two, the safest areas, honestly, is the harbor. If you go by the harbor, or if you go by like the where the casinos are, those are probably your safest areas by the stadium. Outside of that area, I would probably not recommend going anywhere else. Seriously, like if I'm not sitting by the airport, if I'm not sitting by some type of tourist attraction, whether that be a museum of some sort, I'm not staying over there. I don't even get my hotel near that mess. This is how bougie I am. When I go to places over there that I've never been to, that I'm very leery about, I make sure I'm either very, very, very close to the airport, because majority of the areas by the airport are nice and they're more upscale, and there's plenty of shopping centers over there. Or I make sure that I'm not too far from the downtown district where the tourism area is at, but far enough to where I don't see the crazy. And when I'm talking about the crazy, I mean like homeless and, Big Bertha and them walking around in bonnets and shit. Now I'm talking about that mess, that type of activity. They be on demon time. As long as I don't see none of that, I'm okay wherever I sleep. But yeah, majority of the places I've been to though, and especially in that area, even in DC. When I stayed in DC for the first time by the wharf, that was a very nice district. I would definitely highly recommend the wharf district. Outside of the wharf, I don't know jack about DC. I would not recommend any of it. Unless you're in Arlington, or unless you're in Alexandria, the more bougier, uppity areas of Northern Virginia, do not stay nowhere near downtown DC. And if you do stay downtown, where there's like really like bustling and where all the noise and stuff is at, and all the bars are at, I would probably say your safest bet is anywhere away from the train station, because there are two train stations down there. The bougie train station, the one that I went to called Union Station, that's an okay area. That area is not bad, but there are homeless there. Now the other train station where my homeboy told me about, that's the ghetto. That's the hood. You don't want to go to that one. I've never been to the other one. Don't plan on going to that one. But one thing I will say is that you gotta do your research before you go somewhere you've never been. Because if you don't, you gonna FAFO real quick. Fuck around and find out real quick that you're in the wrong neighborhood and your car gonna get took. The catalytic converter gonna be gone, and you gonna be assed out crying because all your shit got took because you went to the wrong side of town. But there's clues. I mean, it's not hard to decipher what side of town is good and what side of town is not good. It's not hard. Now, the only downfall I will say right now about DC specifically is the heightened security. I'm not fond of looking at a whole bunch of National Guard soldiers patrolling all over the city. Did I feel safe? Hell yeah, I felt safe. But at the same time, it made me a little nervous seeing all them damn National Guard soldiers patrolling. I felt a little uneasy because I'm just like, it's too much security for my comfort level. Put it that way, too much security. But outside of that, and the police is going down the street every 5 seconds with sirens and ice everywhere, yeah, I would probably say steer clear of that area for a while. Unless you need to get down there for something else, I would not recommend going down there. Unless you're just looking to sightsee or something. But I do plan on going back down there later on. I don't know when, but I gotta wait till this weather clears up. This weather is acting up. It's messing with my sinuses, my allergies right now. The cold is not going away. It warmed up a little bit today, though. I mean, it was like 60 something degrees, but yeah, nah, I just, I don't know. I gotta wait for that weather to change first. That weather is crazy up there right now. Once it gets a little bit warmer, I want to see the African American Museum. I have yet to see it. And something else is up there I haven't seen. But yeah, there's a lot of different tourism areas, different attractions. Like you can never get bored. It's one thing I do like about this area. I heard that the aquarium, I think it's the aquarium, somebody told me to go check out in Baltimore is really nice. I heard that area is nice, and I heard the zoo is very nice too. But outside of the aquarium, the zoo, and like, they look like they road raging. They need to slow that shit the fuck down. I would probably say, yeah, they road raging. I think they flying too goddamn much. I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of activities to do. You just have to Google and look around. But from my knowledge, from what people have told me to go look at, African American Museum is one everybody has told me to go check out. They have a badass soul food buffet from what I've seen on TikTok. And then somebody else told me to check out the Wax Museum. There's a wax museum somewhere in Baltimore, and it's like a geared to like black culture and something like that. But somebody was telling me on Uber to check out the Baltimore Wax Museum. Now, when I was down in Memphis during MLK Day when I did that turn and burn, whew, that was such stressful, just that traveling back and forth. The Uber drivers were very knowledgeable there too. They told me a lot too. Must have been a bad accident. Oh, shit. Somebody's car was on fire back there, y'all. Oh my god. Somebody must have flew off the on ramp or something. Jesus. There was like a whole 18 wheeler on the side. I don't know what happened. That's why I'm trying to hurry up and get off this damn road now. These people are going bananas. But anyway, what was the guy in Memphis telling me, the Uber driver? Oh, he told me besides Graceland, when I asked him how Graceland was, and he told me it was nice, but it's expensive as hell. I said, well, I'm not surprised. It's Elvis Presley's house, and Elvis Presley's jumbo jet, his private jet, is there. He also told me to check out some other museums. I didn't realize how many attractions Memphis had until he told me. I said, is Beale Street worth the hype? He told me Beale Street is nice, but they have a lot of YN activity and it's kind of hood, which I'm not surprised. It's Memphis. But then he also told me what opened my eyes is the fact that he said, don't know if this is true, but the new prophet mumbo jumbo about Memphis being such a dangerous city is a myth. He says that depending on the side of town that you're on, yes, there's crime everywhere. It's just like any other city. He said it's not as bad as what people make it out to be. He said that the news hypes it up more than what they say it is. I mean, is that true? Do y'all believe that? I don't know about that part. I'm not buying it. But he said there are a lot of beautiful parts to Memphis. I mean, he says a lot of rich neighborhoods and stuff. But he said that they have a lot of different tourism areas besides the National Civil Rights Museum that I went to go visit that day on MLK Day. That was a very nice museum. It kind of had me a little teary-eyed and emotional. I'm not gonna lie. Like that museum alone, like man, I learned so much history about the civil rights era, and I did not realize how many people were really involved. Like, you know how you just hear like the generic, you know, black public figures like MLK, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks. There were way more people involved that I've never heard of that are in that museum. And they had a lot of like very rare artifacts that we couldn't even take pictures of because they were so old. They were from like the 1960s and from like all types of different areas. But yeah, it was fascinating to me. I thought it was very cool to learn that type of history and to see that type of history in the museums and stuff. I said I gotta come back here. I don't want to go back to the National Civil Rights one, but I do want to check out the other tourist attractions that are down there. But the one that's on top of my list, I would definitely say whenever I do go back down there, I don't know when I'm going to go back down there, is Graceland. I do want to see Elvis's house. Now, my coworker who's been there, my other coworker, he said that Graceland is in the hood. I asked the Uber driver, and the Uber driver said, yeah, it's kind of janky where Elvis's house is at, but it's surrounded by a suburban area. It's fenced off. It's not like anybody can just get on the property, and it's guarded. It's heavily guarded. I said, oh, okay. He made it seem like there was like crackheads everywhere. He's like, nah, it's not that type of environment at all. He's just making it more than what it seems. I said, he must have been on the wrong side of town or something because from the pictures that I've seen, I said Graceland don't look like it's in the hood at all. He was like, nah, he's just tripping. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I was a little nervous when I came out that airport because when I started looking around like the downtown, OMG, it looked like a bomb exploded and hit downtown Memphis. It was scary. All I saw was like graffiti everywhere, broken up, abandoned, boarded up windows. It kind of reminded me of like the poor areas of East Coast, like Philly and Jersey and like Baltimore. Like I'm talking like brick city nation, brick buildings and boarded up windows and shit everywhere. Like stray dogs, stray cats. Like that's all I saw in downtown Memphis. It was not pretty. But when you get to like the museum district and you get to like the monuments and stuff, it gets nicer. But outside of that airport area, yeah, no, that was for the birds. I don't know what that was. I was looking at, but yeah, I was not getting out the car in them areas. Hell no, day or night. I said I'm not putting myself in danger. Oh no, because I'm gonna tell you what turned me off from ever visiting Memphis. One, that rapper. Ever since that rapper named Young Dolph had got killed in broad daylight at a cookie shop and got shot up with Dracos and stuff in broad daylight, that's what made me nervous about Memphis. I'm not gonna lie. That kind of turned me off from visiting for a very long time. But then when I realized the rapper beef that he had with some other rapper that got him killed or whatever, I was just like, okay, maybe that was a separate incident. Maybe that's not the whole city. And it was probably just somebody that had some beef with him. But yeah, it be like that sometimes. Now I'm not gonna lie, I've been to some very dangerous parts of Cali. When I went to California, ooh, this is over 15, 20 years ago. When I went to LA for the very first time as an adult, and I went over to Inglewood by accident, and look, and Compton by default on the city bus. I got scared as hell. It was broad daylight. But to be honest, Compton and Inglewood wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I seen white people walking around. I seen Asian people. I seen all types of people walking around Inglewood and Compton. It wasn't like the movies. Like back in the '90s, when like movies like Boys in the Hood and Men's Society, yeah, it was bad at that time. But now it's different. It's like more gentrified. Unless you're like in Watts, California, you might see some silly shit, or like Long Beach where Snoop Dogg is from. But outside of them areas, it wasn't bad at all. Now at nighttime, I would not be caught out there. Daytime, you have a 50-50 chance of not being, knocked in the head or whatever. But from the videos that I've seen on TikTok and the videos I've seen on YouTube, it makes me want to think twice before you set foot in California with all the protests and mess going on. That's why I said you can't pay me to go to LA. No, I went there, live in that mug, but nothing. No, hell no. Ever since I took the city bus that one time, and it smelled like literally urine and poverty. I thought I would never take another city bus in LA for the rest of my life. No, absolutely not. And you have to think, this was before Uber. This was like back in 2012 time frame when I first went to LA. And at that time, the options were very limited. That's when people were still taking like yellow cabs and taxis and stuff. You didn't have much option or whatever. But now with Uber and Lyft and all these other different rideshare companies and stuff, you have plenty of options. Like it's not as bad as it used to be. However, you still got to keep your head on the swivel. Now, one place that I really, really, really want to explore and visit that my homegirl has already been to is Chicago. And Chicago is too dangerous as shit. It makes me hella nervous. They be shooting in daylight. That's what makes me nervous about Chicago. But from what everybody tells me, and especially what my homegirl told me, as long as you stay in the tourism district, your ass is gonna be okay. But the minute you leave that tourism district downtown Chicago, you dip off in the neighborhoods, that's your ass. That's what pretty much everybody has told me. And even when I did the research on YouTube, YouTube even said the same thing. I said, if I do go there, I want to go, but I don't want to be solo either. Play a big city like that, yeah, I don't want to be solo in. Hell no. I would get so lost. I would probably get robbed the minute I land. Like I need a tour guide of some sort to guide me around before I go out there. But one place I will say that I felt somewhat safe in solo, surprisingly, was San Francisco. Nobody bothered me over there. That was a couple of years ago. I went to San Fran back in 2023 to the 50th anniversary of Hip Hop Festival. It was LL Cool J, DJ Jazzy Jeff, Salt and Pepper, Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick, Rakim, and there's one more out there. I can't remember who else was there. Oh, I believe E40 was there too. That was one of the best old school hip hop concerts I've ever been to. It was amazing. They did a great job. But man, I was nervous as hell. I'm not gonna lie. Even though they had the whole entire police squad down there protecting everybody at that stadium, I was hella nervous because the Negroes was outside and it was rough. And I was just like, whoo, Lord, please don't let me get robbed. Please don't let me get robbed. But yeah, it made me nervous to be around my own people out that way because what I forgot is that the Warriors Stadium, the Golden State Warriors, the basketball team, yeah, that's not San Francisco. That's actually Oakland. And when I realized where the hell I was at, I said, oh shit, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm in Oakland. I'm in Oakland. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. But surprisingly, no one bothered me. that whole time. Thank God. I was scared as hell. I was scared as hell by myself. But no one bothered me. I think I have just a very intimidating, distinctive, like, don't fuck with me look. Now, the one city I will tell you that I'm still afraid to go to this till this day alone, and I wouldn't dare go there alone. I don't care how many TikToks I've seen with everybody doing a little solo travel across the world. One place I'm not gonna go solo is New York. I don't care how many people tell me how safe it is. I'm not doing solo travel in New York. Why? Because one, I will get lost on a train. I don't know the train systems. I don't know the transit areas, and New York is crazy. I've seen some crazy cities, but I think New York tops the cake. You got people that dress up like it's Halloween when it's not Halloween. You got, crackheads screaming in your face, trying to punch you in your face, and then you got, just violent random people out of nowhere. You could be minding your business, and somebody come up to you and just try to start something with you. That's what scares me about New York. And then the thing that really, really scares me the most is the people that throw acid on people. Yes, they still have acid throwers. It's very real. It's scary. If you don't get sliced up on the train, somebody's gonna throw acid at you. Seriously. And that's what scares me a lot about it because I'll be like, yeah, I don't wanna be in the wrong area. That's for sure. But according to my coworker, two of them actually that are from New York. There's actually three of them from New York. One of them is from the Bronx. She's Puerto Rican. She has a very heavy accent. She's cool as shit, but she's hella aggressive. The other one is from, I want to say, Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken. The black lady's from Brooklyn. And the other Puerto Rican lady, I think she said she's from, not Brooklyn, but what part of New York did she say she was from? It wasn't Long Island. I want to say Queens area. And the point is, they all from one of the five boroughs. That's the point. And they know New York like the back of their hand. And they tell me, if we ever do go, we're taking a girls trip this summer. I said, oh, for real? They're like, yeah, because we know New York. Like, you're good with us. We're going to be walking everywhere to get some good shoes. I said, walking? She's like, yeah, we're going to be walking everywhere. I said, why do y'all walk so many places? I don't understand. She said, because New York is walkable. You don't need the train. You don't need the city bus. You don't need none of that shit. You just got to get some good shoes and walk. That's how they talk. It's so funny. But yeah, I said, okay, I guess we're walking all over the place. So that's the plan. We haven't set a date in stone yet, but the plan is to basically take a girls' trip in the summer and walk all over the city. That's pretty much the plan.